Well, I think it is really exciting that it only seems like a few months ago where we had this initial idea to explore the possibility of this new MA programme and pathway. And we're now at the stage where we've nearly finished the very first term of trialling it out and seeing how it's been going. And so it would be really helpful if we can spend some time thinking about how this term's gone and see how it's developing so far. Mm-hmm. So who wants to answer that first question? How has these first few weeks, this first term been?
Well, I think Joan should say something in a moment about what it's been like to actually be on the participants, the student side of it. Mm-hmm. From the teacher side, it seems to have gone very well, partly because instead of my nightmare happening, which was that I couldn't get people to teach the bits that I couldn't, not within my ability to teach. I actually ended up with some really good people to teach with. We had an excellent day from a professor of sustainability at the University of Surrey, and Charlotte Slay joined me for the 2 days, one on spirituality, one on took the day on the science of climate change and biodiversity loss, and so the whole thing has felt that it's been led by people very excited about the subject, very well informed about the subject, and has managed to convey, I think, a real passion for the kinds of life that we need to live and we need to advocate for if we're going to make headway in helping, shall we say, our grandchildren live less disastrous and miserable lives than they might.
And you mentioned Charlotte Slay
yes.
In that. Her role with us is about to change. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what she's going to be doing?
Charlotte is an ordained priest. She's also a scientist. She has a background in biology. She has been teaching with us for some years now, teaching with me the Spirituality and Discipleship course, which has a significant amount of science in it. And she currently works for the University College London in a department where she specialises in the history of science, history and sociology of science. And she's going to become our project manager for the whole MA, as well as its the larger project within which it sits, which we're calling Discipleship for a Planetary Crisis. So she'll be joining our planning group, really to make sure that we keep on target and we find the students we need to find and we get the teachers we need to get, and that we keep on track and this grows as we hope and pray it will.
Fantastic. And talking of students, we're really lucky to have Joan with us, one of our I was going to say prototype students, but that's not quite the right word. But one of the first students who's come onto this pathway. Could you tell us a little bit about maybe what attracted you to the course and then how you found this first module?
Well, I've always been interested in wildlife and that kind of thing, having been taken out by our parents for country walks since we were very small, and I got involved in eco-church, and then I was looking for something academic to keep my brain going, and this course turned up, so I decided to give it a go. We've had some very wide-ranging types of lectures, including whole body experiences with the spirituality, lots of different kinds of presentations, and they've engaged us in depth. Students have been encouraged to present themselves and to join in discussion, and it's been a really good experience, broadening, deepening thought. We've come from many different backgrounds, the students, and so there's lots of different expertise in the group, and that has really enriched discussion.
Fantastic. And am I right that the first module involves a placement?
That's right, yes.
What's that
yes.
meant for you?
Yes, I went on a placement with Arosha and spent 3 days in the office, in Wolffields, and then again researching in the library. Everybody was so helpful and enthusiastic, really caught up into that process to see how something even small, but everything that you put into it, it adds up. And I've been really enthusiastic about that. It was good to get out and see something else. It was another way of finding out about the crisis.
Brilliant. And how have you seen the connection between what you saw on that placement and then what you're seeing in the classroom?
Yes, it's all fitted together. The placement being very practical and how it was working rather than the theory that we've done in class, but also we have looked at practical things in class. So we've broadened out from the sort of factual, theoretical into a real life situation.
Brilliant, thank you. And one of the really exciting things about this whole development and project that we're working on together is that we're not in it alone. I had the opportunity for the first time of getting to St John's Waterloo this week, which was brilliant, and it's an amazing location and it's an amazing facility. But could you tell us a little bit more about how that partnership has developed and why we're working with them?
Absolutely. You're right, St John's Waterloo, we're lucky to be able to partner with them, and you've benefited from it, I think, in this first term. So St John's, so Charles Goddard and his team, ministry team and staff team, they are ahead of us in terms of, as a church community, they have been active in this area of climate-oriented theology and practice and also campaigning for quite a few years. So they are, you might call, a flagship eco-church. They have got the much desired gold status. They are ahead of many other churches and organisations in many ways. First of all, a few years ago they redeveloped the church, and we are among the direct beneficiaries of that. It's you've seen it. They've refurbished the church above ground, but also, maybe even more importantly, below ground. The basement has been redeveloped in a really wonderful way, so that it's available to all sorts of organisations, including us, but also charities. They do their outreach work there. Other users, university, orchestras, you name it. But what they've done is, drawing from their sort of identity, they have, in redeveloping the building, they have everything, all the work they did it with the sustainability and climate consciousness in mind, in terms of the materials they use, their heating systems, and they show that it can be done really well, and to produce something that's really attractive. So I guess that's exciting for us as a college to be involved with them, to learn from that, to partner with, and to get to know each other better. And I guess we've started to use it as one of our campuses, if you like, and the hope is, as we see things develop, that this will grow into a bit of a campus for St Augustine's, particularly for the discipleship for a Planet in Crisis program, including the masters that we've been talking about.
And can you tell us a little bit, are there other groups and organisations that we're currently partnering with in this, or that we're exploring future partnerships with? Yeah.
Well, so Joan already mentioned Russia. You did a placement with them, as did another student on the course. We have been in touch with Tear Fund, and have established some initial contact with them, and sort of a partnership of a kind. With one person in particular who focuses on theology in a global church, who can help us to put us in touch with people who are, if you like, forgive the pun, at the coalface of the problem here, often in places in developing countries, which bear the brunt, or actually the greater burden of what's happening in terms of climate and environmental crises. To hear from how Christians, churches, communities, charities, in those deeply affected places, how they respond to the crises, and for us to learn from them, and so that as we think about climate and environment and biodiversity, we actually keep in mind that this is a global issue and is deeply intertwined with questions about justice, global justice, colonialism, and such topics that we need to grapple with, and that we can't treat those topics in silos, and that should help us in doing that. Alan, we are talking to, we are in a process of putting together a reference group with people like critical friends who each, coming from different angles, whether it's from business or from church or from charities, who can help us look over our shoulder, who can sort of give us good advice and critical feedback on how we develop this further. So that's in the pipeline.
The other thing we're doing is, in a sense, inspired by Pope Francis and Laudato Si. We are very committed to keeping the degree, the curriculum open to a world beyond our own shores, the majority world, where climate change is biting and hitting harder, and generally those least able to bear disasters and further deterioration to their well-being and to their ability to sustain themselves. So on the one hand, we're keen that students are helped to always relate climate change to social issues of social justice. So we talk quite a bit about climate justice. And on the other hand, we're trying to build contacts with people in parts of the world where the effects of climate change are bearing down very hard on localities. And Tier Fund is one of the organisations that is helping us make those contacts. Arosha will also be doing some of that because they have international contacts as well. And so we are hoping to build a body of connections through which we can through interview, through getting lectures from, getting talks and first-hand accounts from various localities, we can actually, keep the whole program open to this as really a global.
And that reminds me that another thing that we are exploring is to, with the help of our sort of key dioceses in our region, to benefit from the partnerships they already have with Anglican dioceses across the world. Particularly, I'm thinking of Tanzania, that is linked, or at least 2 dioceses in Tanzania are linked with the Rochester diocese, and Southwark have a connection with Zimbabwe, a number of dioceses there. And we know of a college in Tanzania that we'd like to partner up with more, and this will give us a new and more sort of urgent perspective, in a way, an angle with which to learn, to connect with them and learn from them. And it's also worth saying, I was just chatting just now over lunch with one of our ordinands who has just returned from Nigeria,
Mm.
where he grew up, and he was just talking about how the people are suffering from extreme weather right at the moment, and all the consequences. So even apart from the partnerships that we're talking about, it is already very real, simply in terms of our own community, and where we and our students are coming from, and all the communities they are connected in with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel this course is so important because in the media we just get sound bites that are very superficial. There's no depth to them at all. But on a course like this and the other things that are being put in place, we can think more deeply and more accurately about what's going on and how we can act.
Can I ask Joan a question? If that's all right. Because you've studied a lot in terms of theology.
Yes.
You have a very good, solid background in theology. And I know it's early days, but you've just started on this new course, which is doing theology, but then with that sort of environmental angle.
Yeah.
So far, what would you say? What is this adding to your own theological mind, if you like, to your own theological expertise?
Yeah. It's given me a different slant, a different way to think, and to think about something that I hadn't thought about in depth before. So in previous courses I've done justice and that kind of thing, but this is more practical for me, more down to earth, and yet it is very academic. It satisfies me academically. I've had plenty. If you take up all the things that we're offered in this course, I've had plenty to read, go online to find out about, get the books out, go back through other things that I've done previously, when there's a sort of connection, and especially looking at the essays. So it's deepening my thought in a different direction and perhaps in a different way. But I'm very happy on the course.
So, one more question for you. It's really exciting. It's clearly the students on the MA are loving this, but at the moment it is just the MA course. What's your vision? What would you love this to ultimately turn into? How is this course going to affect other students or have an impact on the other students that we have in college, not just those who are going to do the MA?
Well, I think for a start, the interest and the sense of importance that attaches to the top themes of the MA has already had an impact on teaching in other modules and across the college. We now have a student-run environmental group that is doing some very interesting things, including trying to work out a kind of rule of life for the college that focuses upon environmental responsibilities. They've already taken the first step of committing us to our catering, a big change to our catering, in which will be in future vegetarian, and which will be a thing that for some people will be quite hard to adjust to, but it is at least one important way of reducing our carbon footprint, and there are other ways too in which we can move towards being eco-college. I think for me, in many ways, the even bigger vision for this is that as we build the students that do the MA, we're also building a group of people who've gone through graduates, a graduate group, that will be able to be influencers in their churches and in their dioceses. And I think the term of art here is cascade. I think the knowledge they bring will cascade into parishes and dioceses more widely. And we can help that process in a number of ways. One of them is by keeping contact with our graduates and working with them to do educational initiatives for our region. And the other is by, during the process of taking the MA, the students will be involved in initiatives such as maybe we've already talked about this, doing a day at St John's on some aspect of environmental care or climate destruction and so on. Some celebration of St Augustine's Day next year is going to take place at St John's, and we're having Professor of Ecology and Sustainability from the University of York come to talk and give that annual lecture. And so in all these ways, we're trying to create, we kind of broaden the influence of what starts off as a single pathway, MA pathway, actually becomes, quite, we hope, influential through its students and through the larger effect on the college. So you get that kind of cascading knowledge through the system, so to speak.
And it's, for me, I feel as if I have joined a community. I wasn't sure how it was going to work because I still have some allegiance to my previous place, but I am feeling part of a community here.
That's good. Yeah, it's really good. That's good to hear, actually. It really is.
What about you, Jerry? as someone who's sort of followed this sort of at arm's length a bit, but what you've picked up either today or maybe just from the last few months, just picked up in the air. What's stood out for you?
I think a number of things have stood out. I think I'm really excited by the way a kind of almost throwaway comment or question in a staff meeting has snowballed and spiraled into something that's really exciting, really engaging, and has so much potential. And the three of us have been working on this and working it through and trying to think about how it would work and how it might look. The fact that we've been able to begin this partnership with St John's Waterloo is really exciting, and to go there and to see the venue and to be able to visualise it. And it's in such an amazing location, right in the centre of London. And I think that's a really important place to think about environmental questions. It would be very easy to do this course here, where it's beautiful and we're surrounded by fields and trees and we all feel very lovely about the environment. But to be in the middle of London, where there's traffic and you can hear the underground, and ask those questions about how we live on this planet is vital. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to hear from the students who've started this course. It's actually got off the ground, and there's people working, and it's great to hear the energy. And I'm excited to see where it could lead. And what I'm really excited about is that I don't know yet where it's going to go. And I don't think any of us, we've got lots of really good ideas. We're building connections. But I'm excited about the fact that we don't know what that's going to lead to.
I think that's really important because, as you say, I've done a lot of study previously, but here I like to feel I don't know what's happening next. It's a surprise.
Yes.